Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Carter. I love talking about movies, horror movies, superheroes, and comic books. And speaking of horror movies, this weekend we just got a brand new horror sequel called Smile 2. It's a sequel to the film from 2022 called Smile, which personally I had a good time with. By no means is it like a favorite of mine, but I enjoy it, and I just rewatched it last night to prep for Smile 2 today. Have you seen Smile 2? Have you seen the first one? What did you think about both films? Let me know down in the comment section below. Do you prefer one or the other? Again, let me know and enjoy the rest of the video. Anyways, Smile 2 follows Naomi Scott as a pop star, as one of the biggest pop stars in the world, as she encounters the Smile entity and begins her descent into madness. And this is also written and directed by Parker Finn, same as the first one, again starring Naomi Scott, Kyle Gallner. It has cinematography by Charlie Saroff. So getting right into the positives with this film, honestly, I love how they amped up everything from the first one. It takes a lot of things that I really enjoyed from the first one, that paranoia, that intensity and isolation, also a lot of the violence and gore and like almost mean-spiritedness, and amps it up. And with that comes a lot more jump scares, a lot more intensity, and just a bigger feeling of this thing closing in on you and just desperation. And I love how they also tied that into just being famous, being the #1 pop star. Sky Riley feels so isolated at all times, and then the Smile entity comes around, just makes her feel even more isolated. And I think they did a lot of great stuff kind of playing into that isolation and just building up that tension as the film went on. I think that there's a lot of great moments in scares here, scares that definitely took me and two of my friends heavily off guard multiple times, just absolutely scaring the crap out of us. And I think that there's a lot of really great sequences here. The performances are amazing. I think Naomi Scott does a great job here. She is honestly killing it as well. I mean, like, she is so good here. Also in moments where it kind of delves into her past, she does a great job of that as well, just kind of portraying almost like a different character, someone very broken throughout, but to make you feel like there's always this delicate balance in Sky Riley's head, this delicate line that she's walking, and at any moment it could tip to one way or the other. Every cast member here does great. Kyle Gallner is fantastic. He's not in the movie a ton just because he's not really in the trailers and the marketing, but when he is there, he is just phenomenal. He is easily like one of my favorite working actors today, just from Strange Darling, The Passenger. I mean, even his tiny role in Scream 5. I really like the guy, and I haven't even seen Dinner in America yet, which I hear is fantastic. Anyways, Kyle Gallner kills it. I thought that a lot of the camera work from Parker Finn and Charlie Saroff was just amazing this time around. Parker Finn has such an eye for horror and such a knack for building tension and sequences. He's just such a good writer and director. I think that I'm very excited to see what he does next. I hope that he kind of breaks from the Smile franchise. I hope they kind of take a break. As much as I really liked this film and the last one, I would love to see Parker Finn do something different. I know he has such a great eye. Just seeing this film in Smile 1, I love how he incorporates just different settings, different usage of the camera, whether that's Dutch angles, like extreme close-ups, just stuff that you normally don't see in horror movies. Sometimes horror movies, especially Blumhouse horror, as much as I love it, the shots aren't really that crazy or creative, but with Parker Finn's films, both of them, he does a lot of really interesting things with the camera, whether that's imagery, whether that's flipping the camera upside down in a sequence where it's just establishing background or an establishing shot, or in this film, it opens with like a 10-minute oneer that just looks phenomenal and has such an abrupt and insane ending. And this film is just mean to the core. So much of it is just so brutal and bloody. There's a lot of great things here with like gore and practical effects that just really got under my skin. And this film does a great job of just giving you the creeps. And one of the scariest sequences didn't involve any violence or gore for me. It was in her apartment. She has a vision of backup dancers running after her or following her, and that really creeped me out. A lot of this film, there's sudden jump scares or just loud, overbearing jump scares, which I'll get to in a second, that I think kind of bothered me a little bit just because there's so much of it. And the creepy parts weren't the loud, startling moments. It's the quiet things that just slowly settle in and get under your skin. I also really enjoyed the ending. The Smile movies have a great use of practical effects and just leaving you on the last 15 to 20 minutes of those films just being burned into your mind, being very, very memorable, whether you enjoy them or not. I personally love both endings, and I think they're extremely memorable for all the right reasons, so no complaints here. And I think that Smile 2's ending is actually like almost maybe a little bit better than the first one. I loved the first one's ending. Smile 2's I think might be a little bit more memorable, and I just adored the way that the story wrapped up. However, the movie wasn't perfect. As much as I enjoyed the film, I think that it looks phenomenal. I think that it has a lot of really great, strong writing moments and a lot of great things it does playing with your mind and playing with reality. Really great scares. I do think that going into the mixed, the pacing at times could use a little work, a little tightening up or just kind of condensing scenes. It's not long by any means, but I did feel a little bit like near the first act ending in the second act, I was just like, ooh. People are like really hyping this up. Like, I'm enjoying everything that it's doing for Skye's character, but I feel like this can kind of be done like kill two birds with one stone, maybe have a sequence where multiple of these conversations take place and show her isolation just a little bit quicker, a little bit dragged kind of in the middle area. And again, like I mentioned before, a lot of this movie has really loud, startling jump scares, which I'm not a huge fan of. In my review of Insidious last year, I was very, very critical of Insidious for using very loud, extreme, over-the-top jump scares. And you could definitely point a finger at Smile 2 and say it's doing the exact same thing. I think Smile 2's jump scares are orchestrated a little bit better and more effectively as a whole than most modern day horrors like Blumhouse. I know I'm ragging on Blumhouse. I enjoy some Blumhouse films. I think that Smile 2, honestly, as far as mainstream horror films go, the jump scares are very effective and can either surprise you by building up tension after a long, long time or just come out of the blue. There was just one or two that were extremely loud and over the top that to me just kind of came off as unnecessary. And something I'm going to mention before I kind of wrap up my review is that some of this film does repeat quite a bit of plot points from the first film. A lot of people will probably have issues with that. For me, I didn't really mind it too much, and I watched the first one last night. Although I do wish that Parker Finn did a little bit more with the mythos, kind of expanding a lot more with what happens and how it happens, or just kind of delving into the history of this creature or anything at all with the Smile entity, etc. I think would have been appreciated, but for me it wasn't too big of a glaring issue. It was just something I noticed after I was like driving home. I was like, yeah, I kind of repeated some of that stuff from the first one, but it didn't bother me outright, which is actually kind of weird for me. Usually it would totally bother me, but for some reason it just didn't this time. Well, that is pretty much all I have for Smile 2. Honestly, I'm gonna give it about an 8 out of 10. I had a really great time with this film. Scared me quite a bit, had me on the edge of my seat, and I thought that the performances and the way the film looked were phenomenal. Parker Finn is definitely someone I'm gonna keep my eye on in the future when it comes to horror or just anything he does, and I'm excited to see what he does next. Well guys, that's all I have for Smile 2. As always, my name is Carter. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.